What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Striking Back. It's our Pepsi 300 tournament video. This is our first tournament in maybe 25 years, basically since juniors. I have not bowled in a tournament as an adult. I bowled in a lot of tournaments in juniors and in youth. So this is the first one as an adult and the first one since we returned to the sport, practicing now for about 4 or 5 months. We have our new bowling balls and we've been practicing, so we thought we'd be ready for a tournament. So we threw our hat in the ring, donated our money to the prize fund, and we went. So the format for this tournament is 4 qualifying games in one of the squads. If you make the finals, it's the top 24 or the top 16, depending on how many entrants there were. And it's a bracket finals. So if you make it in that top 16 or top 24, you're in a bracket, and that's the finals. You go all the way through the bracket. We bowled the 9 a.m. squad. The 9 a.m. squad also allowed for the top 4 to be guaranteed in the finals, regardless of all the other scores. So that's the squad we signed up for. It was a very long day. I think we left the house at about 5:45 in the morning, and it was rough. It was a very rough day. I did a lot of practice beforehand. I practiced my spares, and I thought I was ready. And you'll see in the video, I was not ready. It was a very difficult day. It was a dual pattern tournament, which I didn't know leading into it. I figured it was going to be a sport pattern, but I didn't think it was going to be 2. They ended up having a long pattern and a short pattern. But what you'll see during the video is that for me, it seemed like the lanes were flooded outside of the second arrow. So not only was it a long and a short pattern, but I had to play inside. Anytime my ball got outside of the second arrow, it was gone and it did not hook back. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll talk to you at the end. So there you go, guys. That was it. 582 for 4 games. We had a 145 average. Our first ball average was like 7.7, 41% on our spares, 44% on our single pins. We missed the 10 pin 3 times. We missed a 7 pin. We missed a 6 pin. We missed the 6-10. We missed the 4-7. We missed the 2-5, and we missed a 2-8. All of those spares we should have made. We had one double for the whole entire set. And that was in our 4th game, which was the best game, the 183. The longest stretch of clean frames we had was 8 frames. That was also in the 4th game. Our second longest was 4 frames. That was in game 1, which was our second highest game. Other than that, through the whole session, we only had 2 clean frames other than those 2 stretches that we strung together. We had no strikes in our lowest game, game 2, which was a 125. No strikes in that game. If we would have made all of our single pins, just our single pins, ignoring all the other spares, that would have raised our average across the session to 157, or it would have gained us about 48 pins and put us at a 630. That alone would have moved me up a spot to 22nd. But let's just go through an example of if I would have made more spares, right? So let's take all the games and go through them all and update the scores, right? So game 1, if we would have made more spares there, and just to go over some of the rules I came up with for this hypothetical scenario, right? I'm making all single pins and all multi-pins, but not the splits and not the washouts. So you'll see that through these example scores. Just game 1 alone, if we would have made those spares, we would have went from a 141 to a 181. Game 2, we would have went from a 125 to a 143. Game 3, we would have went from a 133 to a 157. Game 4, we would have went from a 183 to a 194. So making those spares would have gained us 93 pins. We would have had a 675 for the session, and instead we would have been at negative 125. That would have moved us up to 15th, which would have been plus 8 spots. So just making our spares, that's what would have happened, right? Ignore all the missed shots, and if I would have made more strikes, just our spares alone, that would have gained us almost 100 pins for the session. Also, if I would have made one of those washouts, or even carried some pins on those washouts, if you look at a few of them, I left a washout, and then I completely missed the pin deck on the second ball, made no more pins. So even if I would have carried a couple of those, like made one of them, and then picked up some pins on a couple more, that probably would have given me another 20 to 30 pins or even more and moved me up even farther into the top 10 possibly. My 2 lane mates were 10th and 11th, and they had negative 89 and negative 92. So if I would have carried more pins on the washouts and made my spares, I could have been in the top 10 or right with my lane mates. So just another example, spares are huge in this game, and I thought I was ready for them, and I wasn't. I had a complete mental lapse and just struggled through the whole session. Just want to give a shout out. We did run into our buddy that we met at Demo Day, if you remember that video. Darius Bond, he also bowled in this tournament. He gave us a shout out on his Pepsi 300 video, so make sure you go check that out. I will put the link in the description to his video for the Pepsi 300 and his channel. Make sure you go give him a like and subscribe. And Darius, it was good to see you again. I appreciate you. And hopefully we can meet up again sometime. Just to finalize everything about this tournament, my mental game was toast. I got frustrated early, and I let that frustration set in, and it just went downhill. It was full meltdown mode. I missed spares right in the first frame, and it just went downhill from there. I couldn't concentrate, and you can even see, I'll show a graph here. I had my Fitbit on. My heart rate was through the roof. I was in like intense mode or whatever it is in that section on the graph. So I need to get that under control. I shouldn't be getting my heart rate up that high when I'm bowling. I should be able to calm down and reset and refocus. So a couple of the big takeaways from this are, I should have moved in to an inside line earlier in the session and recognized where my out of bounds were and avoided those out of bounds. I knew the out of bounds for me was outside that second arrow. You probably saw several shots through the session. One was even a gutter where when I put my ball outside that second arrow, it never came back. It did not hook. Sometimes it went straight. The one time it went right into the gutter. So for me, that session, that out of bounds was second arrow and out. I should have never even been close to that. But instead, a lot of times I was trying to aim for the second arrow and throw my ball down the board, down 10, and get it to hook in. And then just control my shot, moving my feet and trying to throw it down 10. And I shouldn't have been doing that. I should have moved my whole shot in. And that's what you saw in game 4, where in game 4 I was throwing that inside line and I did a lot better. I threw my highest game of the session. So I need to recognize those things earlier, and I need to move inside rather than trying to run down that line right on my out of bounds, because that clearly didn't work for me. So that was the biggest thing. But the second biggest thing, and obviously the biggest thing that affected my score through this session, was even though I couldn't find the line, my spares were horrible. So we need to go back to the drawing board on spare practice. We're going to work on some of that. So we're going to work on our spare practice, but as part of that, we're going to work towards our next tournament. There is a tournament down here in Pittsburgh every Friday night. It is a scratch sweeper series, and what they do is they put out a different sport shot every week. And we're going to gear up for that, and we're going to go on a Friday night, and we're going to go check that out and see what we can do, see if we can redeem ourselves. So check that out. Stay tuned for that. Also, we did practice a little bit of our spares this week. We made a couple really good splits, and I posted a short of that, so make sure you go check out that short, and I'll post a link to that in the description also. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We're going to try and come back from this. And I hope you guys check out the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.